the Light of Truth radio broadcast with Michael Boldea.
Welcome to the program and thank you for joining us. This is the Light of Truth radio broadcast. I am, as always, your humble host, Michael Boldea. I can hear Gino shuffling in the background. He's in his car. So if it is possible to mute yourself, Gino, I would appreciate it. All right. Today is September 11th, the year of our Lord 2025. Yesterday is another day that will be remembered for a very long time. If you have not heard, if you are unaware, one Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He was murdered while holding an event in Utah. Now, between every housefrau and a muumuu who's suddenly become a forensic analyst to rival CSI, and not even the Miami one, but the original, and every gatekeeper coming out of the woodwork insisting they know whether or not the man was saved or whether he's going to heaven, we're missing out on the bigger picture. We're missing out on the bigger picture of the tragedy that occurred yesterday. I didn't know the man personally. I knew his name. I knew he had a way with words when it came to young people. But however you feel about his political leanings, understand that a husband died needlessly. A father died needlessly. His wife will never more feel his embrace. His children will never more see his smile as he walks through the door. His life is over. And that is a tragedy that should compel sadness and introspection in the hearts of us all. I must admit, yesterday I hugged my girls a little tighter when I picked them up from school. I lingered holding my wife's hand a little longer after we said grace around the dinner table, because moments like these remind us that life is a vapor. It is fleeting and fragile. What I know of Charlie Kirk is this: he was a man who unapologetically championed family. He championed marriage. He championed having children. He's also a man who likely spoke, tweeted, and texted the name Jesus more in 1 year than Joel Osteen in an entire lifetime. Whether or not he's in heaven is God's purview. Now, even though some are insistent he isn't because he called Jesus Jesus and not Yeshua, it still astounds me how people can be so flippant about eternity and about decreeing that someone is in hell on a whim. It's something I'll never understand. But welcome to the world we've created. Welcome to the world that godlessness has begotten us. They still have not caught the individual who did the shooting, but the latest news that is unsurprising, like many things that just occurred are unsurprising, is that apparently there are reports that indicate the ammunition found by the assassin's gun, or fired by it, at least the casings, were marked with transgender messages. Even before this came out, because this just came out today, I was talking to my neighbor who was also stunned by what happened. And I said, $1 to donuts. The pattern will continue. $1 to donuts. when and if this individual is finally caught, there will be certain attributes regarding this individual that will be undeniable. Well, it seems as though we're one step closer to confirming that, given that apparently this email came from an officer at the ATF. We'll see where it goes. It's a tragedy. You can't call it anything else. And I understand that while some people are shocked at individuals celebrating this man's murder, especially online, I wasn't shocked. If your entire generation spends as much time agonizing over what shoes to wear with what skirt as they do whether or not they should murder the baby in their womb, why would it be shocking that some individuals relish and revel and celebrate the idea that two children will never see their father again? It's expected. This is the society that we've created. This is the society that godlessness begets. You have people with no emotion, empathy, or anything else other than their self-serving desires who are celebrating the murder of a man. And you know what? I've listened to some of the things he said. Charlie Kirk was milquetoast. He wasn't calling for violence. He wasn't calling for aggression. He was telling young people, hey, you should settle down, get married, have a family, have some kids. This is what will bring purpose to your life. Worship Jesus, serve Jesus, because this is what will bring purpose to your life. And even though the things he said are perfectly reasonable, countless times I heard it over and over again, where Charlie Kirk is what Goebbels was to Hitler. He's Hitler's propagandist. We've had this discussion before. You keep calling people Hitler, eventually someone's going to take it upon themselves to stop Hitler. Call a man Hitler long enough, someone will decide it's a public service to remove him. Call a man Hitler's propagandist long enough, and you'll get the same results. And right now, there's not even, look, how do I put this gently? I can't put it gently because it affected me. All I had to do was just consider what my wife and my girls would be going through if some nutburger decided to take a pot shot at me and end my life. It's astounding what some of these media outlets have been caught saying. And as far as the media is concerned, I don't care how much you loathe and despise it. I promise you, you don't loathe and despise it nearly enough. The worst take on the whole thing that I heard was yesterday from some guy, I think on MSNBC. I just saw the clip. No, I don't watch MSNBC because I have things to do in life. But he actually came out and said that the shooting may have been caused by Charlie Kirk's own fans shooting their guns up in the air. As though this was Guadalupe or, I don't know, Aguas Caliente on Cinco de Mayo in the late 1800s. Arriba, arriba, everyone shooting their guns in the air. This is what this man said. He's supposed to be an analyst that knows more than the average citizen. And his conclusion was that a bunch of rednecks came out for Charlie Kirk. They put their guns up in the air and pew, pew, pew. And that's what did it. Look, if you're looking for discourse or debate with the other side, they've made it very clear they're not interested. We don't want open debate. We just want you to conform. Otherwise, look out. You may be next. So let's just recap this. Silence is violence, and it's unacceptable. Words are violence, and they're inappropriate. Dissent is violence, and it's unjustifiable. Violence, however, actual murder, well, that we can understand because Charlie Kirk said mean things. That is a scary thought process. And you have to understand that a lot of young people who've been brainwashed by universities and communist professors and individuals whose singular desire is to remove the notion of God from the minds of men, there's a lot of them that share this mindset. So for anyone being surprised by this having happened, if it wasn't Charlie Kirk, it would have been someone else. Because the vitriol is such where how can you not? How can you not stop Hitler before he has a chance to kill so many people? Now, where this goes, I do not know. There are a lot of people saying that this was the straw that broke the camel's back. This was the last line in the sand and that people are going to wake up. I'm skeptical because the deep slumber that so many are in requires something even more shocking than this shocking thing to awaken them, to make them realize the kind of society they're living in. And I didn't even mention the Ukrainian girl that was sitting on a bus, gets stabbed in the neck 3 times. And the best anyone around her can do is watch as she bleeds out. This is the society godlessness has created. Give yourselves a round of applause, all you mealy-mouthed pastors that don't say this is the better way. Give yourself a round of applause, all of you coexist sticker-wearing individuals. Bravo! This is your utopia. This is what you dreamt of. This is the final iteration of trying to do away with morality, with family, with God, and insisting that anything anyone says regarding themselves as an individual must be accepted as the God's honest truth. You're a hamster? You're a weasel? You're a giraffe? Of course you are. You're a boy, but you say you're a girl? Of course you are. This is the final iteration of a society in collapse. This is it. So the idea of golden ages just went out the window. And I've seen people try to be edgy. I didn't worship Charlie Kirk. Nobody did. He worshiped Jesus. I respected the man for having the courage and boldness to speak about Jesus to young people, to say, hey, I'm married, I have children, I love my wife, I love my children. I'm not going around wearing a horse's tail. I'm not trying to put on a dress. I'm not trying to say I'm intersex. None of these things. I am a man who is married to a woman who has children, who loves Jesus. I respected his boldness. I didn't worship the man, but stop trying to be edgy for the sake of edgy. Oh, well, bullet trajectory and forensic analysis. You're an old lady in a basement trying to put Bengay on your knuckles because your arthritis is acting up. You're not a forensic analyst. You haven't discovered the great, conspiracy theory. Everything's a conspiracy theory now. Every single thing is a conspiracy theory. I saw the video, not the one that's being purged from the internet momentarily. The actual video where the man got shot in the neck, it spurted, and even before they announced he was dead, said it'll be a miracle if he lives. Because this wasn't ketchup. And we need to understand that the other side, it's the best way I can put it, the other side cares not a whit for your life, for the fact that you have family, for the fact that you have children or a wife or anything else. They understand their mental capacity does not rise to the level of being able to hold logical discourse. And so for them, the acceptable alternative is murder. Cold-blooded, premeditated murder. That's it. This is where we are. Now, there are some individuals out there that are doing, I believe, the Lord's work, because you cannot celebrate a man's assassination and think that I'm just going to celebrate it. So now there's a website that has come out, and I'm going to go through some of these because it's important. It's important to understand the sort of ghouls that share the oxygen with you, to understand the sort of depravity going on in the minds of some individuals that from the outside looking in seem like, respectable members of society. So there's a website that came out that is called Charlie's Murderers. And it exposes individuals who celebrated the man's murder. Again, this is the thing that hit me the most. It's not that a man died needlessly. It's that the man was a husband and he was a father, and his children are going to grow up without a dad because somebody took it upon themselves to silence him because the words hurt so much. Shortly after the shocking assassination of Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk, many took to social media to mock, deride, and laugh at Kirk, with many expressing happiness at his death. This is the society godlessness creates. This is the final boss. Girls with 7, 8, 10, 15 abortions under their belt, reveling at the fact that this man who says maybe you should get married and have a baby was murdered. Because that way we don't get to hear him anymore. We can go on killing our babies for as long as many as we want. I only had a cup of coffee today. I've got one. My sister-in-law was kind enough to make me a cup of coffee. I'm going to take a sip and we're going to read this. But it's not sadness. It's an amalgam of emotions that I can't really define. But sadness for the tragedy of his children growing up without a father and his wife growing up without a husband, I think is preeminent. I think a close second to the sadness is the bile that's rising in my gut, the vitriol I feel towards the talking heads that are trying to make the victim the guilty party. Well, if you would have kept his mouth shut, maybe nobody would have taken a shot at him, huh? Maybe it was his fans shooting guns up in the air, because those hillbilly rednecks. I mean, anyone who's a fan of Charlie Kirk, anyone who listens to his hate speech, has to be a redneck, has to be a hillbilly, has to be somebody with no teeth, because we are the superior element of society. And we have to look down on everyone else that has a dissenting opinion. We have to villainize them. We have to make them out to be Hitler, worse than Hitler even. And then you get somebody, maybe 2 or 3, that hear these words repeated over and over again. The worst thing since Pol Pot. And they say to themselves, I can be a hero. I can save the world. I can rid humanity of Hitler and Hitler's propagandist. I've warned you about this 6, 8 months ago, a year ago. If you're a believer and you're villainizing individuals to the point that you're calling them Hitler, there will be a day when you'll look back on the words you spoke and you'll swallow your tongue for shame. Welcome to that day. No, I have no pity for you, because I've warned you repeatedly. Stop yourselves. Let me take a sip. I know. I said I was going to take a sip 4 minutes ago. During a speaking event at Utah Valley University on Wednesday, Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk was fatally shot in what appears to be a politically motivated assassination. Since then, a vigil has been held in his honor, and many have expressed their shock over the incident and prayed for his wife and young children. I'm not ashamed to say I prayed for his wife and young children. It's devastating, man. It's something that unless you've lived it, you can't understand it. So yes, I prayed for his wife. I prayed for his children, just as I would hope someone prays for my wife and kids if something were to happen to me. However, while there was an outpouring of sympathy from many, those on the left have taken the opposing side celebrating the murder of Kirk. As leftists began to flood social media platforms with messages applauding the assassination of Kirk, a website named Charlie's Murderers was created to catalog their posts. Bravo to whoever created this website. If a lot of news reporters and talking heads are not on this list, then I would be disappointed. Because even while the body was still warm, they were trying to justify the shooting. Well, the hate speech. What's the hate speech? Show me where this man, quote unquote, had hate speech. He was the most milquetoast individual that I've ever seen do a debate. He allowed people to speak and express their opinions, and then he'd come back with his answer and his argument. So am I to understand that if you promote family, marriage, and God, what you're doing is hate speech? Because this is what the man did. I never saw him curse in some of the clips that I've seen of him, and it wasn't many because, again, I'm not a young college kid. He was 31. 31 years old. 2 kids and a wife. Done. Instant. Because why? Because he said transgenderism was an anomaly. It was abnormal. It wasn't naturally occurring. Well, how dare he say that? Because so many people say we're brave and beautiful. Welcome, one and all, to the society we've created, to the society godlessness has wrought upon us. I'm going to keep repeating that because it's the truth. In one instance, a news outlet reported that a Florida anesthesiologist took to social media to state that she is really glad that Charlie Kirk just got himself effing shot, and added that no one should give a blank that he's dead. Dr. Tatiana Adkins of Larkin Community Hospital in Miami posted a video, this video, saying those words on her Instagram account after the Turning Point USA founder was assassinated at a speaking event in Utah before disabling her profile. The clip was uploaded by the Miami-based hosts of the Mostly Peaceful Latinas podcast. An online health provider database states that Atkins has also practiced at Riverside Walter Reed Hospital in Virginia and St. Lucie Hospital in Port St. Lucie, Florida, as recently as 2024. I'm just really glad that Charlie Kirk got himself shot, because he's right. Empathy is dangerous to society. So's mental illness. So's men pretending to be women and the entire society validating their mental illness. I said it. I'm on record having said it. You can call my neighbor and ask her. Dollars to donuts. This is another one. When someone in the background appeared to protest her remark, Atkins replied, "He said it, I'm just saying his words." It was also reported in another instance that a Pennsylvania public school emotional support teacher shared a post calling Kirk a bigoted white nationalist mouthpiece who normalized Trumpism and does not deserve empathy. Welcome to Utopia. This is the world and we are the children. Libs of TikTok shared the disturbing statement that Amanda Dodson, an employee of the school district of Lancaster, reposted on Facebook. Charlie Kirk was a racist, xenophobic, transphobic, Islamophobic, sexist, white nationalist mouthpiece who made millions of dollars inciting hatred in this country. If one person was all that, and you were told that that one person was all that day in and day out by the people you watched and the people and the content you consumed, what do you think? Whether it's his genocide denial, his transphobic tirades, his pushing for mass deportations, or his normalizing Trumpism for years, the man stood for nothing but hate. I extend absolutely no empathy for people like that. In this situation, my empathy is reserved for his children. May they grow up in a country that is the total opposite of everything their father envisioned. What this woman doesn't understand, that 70-odd million people voted for the individual that she considers Hitler pretty much. And that Charlie Kirk's vision of the future of family, serving God, wives, children, picket fence, the whole nine, is something normal people aspire to. Well, given the celebrations, a new website has appeared tracking such posts and individuals celebrating Kirk's death and encouraging anyone that sees leftists doing so to submit the post on their website. charliesmurderers.com has been tracking many who have celebrated Kirk's death and heavily featured their posts alongside publicly available information. Shockingly, it's not shocking. It's not shocking in the least. Shockingly, many of the individuals listed are teachers, university employees, or even appear to work jobs related to government contracts. Like I said, the people who think they're better than you. Even though their stipend comes from your taxpayer dollars, university employees, teachers, all the individuals that look down. Well, it must have been some of his fans shooting their pistolas up in the air. I mean, come on. Do you know those people? They can't afford a dentist, but they can afford bullets. And instantly after it happened, they started to gaslight individuals. Well, maybe Republicans should take a look at their hate speech. Excuse me? Excuse me? We've discussed this. Every single individual that is white, heterosexual, and Christian apparently has a target on their back because they're abnormal. They're divisive. Like I said, I don't know where this goes, but it's not that we're not headed in a good direction, man. We've already reached our destination. We are in very, very dangerous territory, because sometimes the worst possible thing that you can get is exactly what you wanted. Look, there are no more tame, calm, reasonable, and logical group of people than what have been deemed conservatives. But given enough time of being told they're murderers and they're Hitler and they deserve to be shot like a dog in the streets, they deserve to bleed out on a stage and never see their wife and kids again because, hey, you didn't have the same opinion as me. Their worst nightmare will be if conservatives decide to clap back. I hope, I pray we have a little time left, because once this ball gets rolling down the hill, once you begin to see civil unrest and internal revolution, we know that it's a sign that the end for this nation is near. So, look, what sort of calloused human do you have to be to your first reply once you hear that man was shot? The fact that he died hadn't come out yet. Your first response is, we need to find people with better aim. I'm not even going to go through this. It's just, This is the world we've created by our refusal to submit to the authority of God, by our refusal to humble ourselves. This is a tragedy. But such tragedies seem to be happening more and more every day. Some of the individuals that reveled in the idea that this man's children would never see him again are school teachers and university employees and Boeing employees. And all they really are is monsters in human skin suits. It's a sad day. It's a sad day for America. It's a sad day for the world. It's a sad day for humanity. And the same people who are going to insist that, well, we shouldn't overreact to this, are the same ones that dehumanized individuals like Charlie Kirk as a fascist for years and years. We've all seen it. It's not as though they didn't make their feelings known. It seems as though 24/7, certain outlets are devoted to calling the big orange man Hitler and anyone who supports him some sort of enemy of humanity. It's not surprising that this occurred. The next one won't be a surprise either. Because it's a lot easier to pull a trigger than it is to have a cogent argument for what you believe. So now, I guess the Wall Street Journal has picked up this story. And they say that the ammo the alleged assassin used was engraved with trans messages and also appears to be of college age. Bravo. Bravo. Homegrown terrorism. Huh? But this is where we are. Now, another thing that I came across, because I know we've had the discussion about this in the past. This is why I'm bringing it up. I don't want to dwell on this any longer because it makes my stomach lurch and it makes my heart sad. Just on a completely different note, I did get the shirts that somebody sent. Apparently, my hamster story had an unintended consequence or effect. And I got a bunch of shirts with, Zombie Hamster. It sounds like a garage band. It sounds like a tribute band, Zombie Hamster opening for Flatulent Goat or something. But I got the shirts. I can only wear a couple of them because the other one's a little grisly. Not going to lie. I think it would scare my daughters. But there were a couple that were funny. So thank you for the shirts. Now I don't have to do laundry quite as often. Tell me, what are we supposed to, where do we go from here? Because I know that, I can pivot. But where do we go from here? Every story I'm seeing today is just more horrendous than the previous one. But Journey Church pastor and volleyball coach facing multiple sexual assault charges. Well done. This is the world we live in. It's easy to turn a blind eye. It's easy to ignore until it becomes impossible to ignore. Until it becomes impossible to turn a blind eye. Now, some time ago, we discussed the dangers of believing numbers, especially when they contradict the things you're seeing on the ground. Remember when the jobs numbers that were coming out during the Biden administration were so glorious, everybody was like, we should give them another shot? Well, apparently those numbers have been revised down. And at the time, I remember telling you, look, if everything you're seeing with the naked eye tells you that the numbers are a lie, believe your eyes. The numbers are a smokescreen. Well, looky, wouldn't you know it? 911,000 fewer jobs than reported in the final year of the Biden administration. Yes, almost a million. The U.S. economy added nearly a million fewer jobs in the year through March 2025 than previously reported, according to preliminary figures released Tuesday by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The revision, the largest on record, suggests job growth during that period was running at roughly half the pace initially believed. But, and this is me adding this, it suited the narrative, didn't it? Look, you got to give Joe 4 more years, man. He's going gangbusters. He's up at all hours of the night thinking, how do we create more jobs when the only thing Joe was thinking is, what flavor ice cream am I having today? The BLS said payrolls will likely be revised down by 911,000 jobs, or 0.6%. That reduces total employment gains for the 12 months ending in March to about 850,000 compared to the 1 million originally reported. On a seasonally adjusted basis, average month job growth drops from about 147,000 to just over 70,000. Now, the ripple effects of this, the fact that it had to be revised down by so much, lends credence to what the big orange man was screaming about a month ago, where you need to lower interest rates to the Fed. The same Fed that said inflation wasn't going to be sticky. It was just transitory. We've had these discussions. That we trust an individual who missed it every single time to make the right decision again still astounds me, but I'm daily astounded by many different things. So, interest rates, I'm sure that come a week from now, the 15th, they're going to cut interest rates. They can't drag it anymore. And I think that even Powell realizes he's done as much damage as he can to this economy. And if he stalls one more time, they're going to call for his head. So they are going to lower interest rates in September. The problem is, it should have been done a long time ago if these numbers were brought to the fore and presented as factual back in February, March, rather than now. The downward adjustment hits nearly every industry and most states. Wholesale and retail trade accounted for the largest share of the shortfall, followed by leisure and hospitality, professional and business services, and manufacturing. I know, don't believe your lying eyes. Look, a bunch of businesses are shuttering all over the place. Small town USA is no longer existent. Everybody you know is struggling, but that's just the people you know. Everyone else, gangbusters. Everyone else is burning $100 bills because they got so many on tap. Well, evidently not. Evidently, what you are feeling in your gut, the things you were seeing with your eyes, proved to be true. No, the economy wasn't getting better. No, people weren't having more jobs. But once again, we keep playing this game over and over again. At this point, what difference does it make? Every single time you kick the can down the road long enough where it no longer matters whether or not your lies are exposed. It no longer matters because, well, the guy that supposedly won by the largest margin in the history of margins, I mean, because everybody wanted to vote for Joe, and never mind Barack Obama. Joe's the shining light now. 3 years into his, presidency, what does it matter that there's a bunch of evidence where it smelled a little iffy? I don't know how, 110,000 more individuals than are residents of a certain city could have voted for the man at 100%. Just saying, I'm not making any accusations. There's no innuendo here. It's just that inquiring minds want to know. The revision recasts the economic backdrop at the start of President Trump's second term. Far from inheriting a booming labor market, because that was the thing they were trumpeting, wasn't it? Look at him. Look at him inheriting the hard labors of Mr. Robinette Biden. Look at him taking credit for a booming economy that the genius and economic powerhouse that is Joe Robinette Biden put together. Smoke and mirrors. Smoke and mirrors. I've told you this before, smoke and mirrors. And I understand our need to delve into conspiracy theory when everything that comes out turns out to be a lie. But there's conspiracy theory, then there's lunacy. All right, for someone to take one screen grab and make a 45-minute video about how the shooting was fake because of one screen grab where apparently there was a fly on his shirt or something, you need to find a hobby. You need to get a pet. Look, I can't give you my dog because apparently the girls are very attached to it. No, it's not. I'm not picking up the doo-doo. I'm not doing anything that I said I wouldn't do because I'm a man of my word and they've kept to their word. But find a pet. I don't know, maybe a hamster. If you get bored of the hamster in 6 months, leave it outside overnight. It'll pretend to be dead. You'll think it's dead. It'll be done. But man, 5 minutes after the guy gets shot, you see 73 different people coming out forensically analyzing this is a fake burger. Nothing burger didn't happen. I mean, apparently Charlie Kirk's on an island with Epstein and all of Hillary Clinton's victims. They're just enjoying mimosas and laughing at you suckers for saying prayers. We need to take a step back and stop. We need to remember the story of the boy who cried wolf. Because if this is the reaction every time something happens, then when something does happen that we have proof was a little iffy, nobody's going to listen. You will have already been branded as the individual who took one screen grab and made a 45-minute video as to how it couldn't have possibly been shot because there was a fly on his shirt. The man is dead. He was shot in Utah. If you watch the full video, I know. Why would we do that when we have one screen grab? We don't want our narrative to be dismantled. No, sir. We'd rather just continue with our lunacy. Watch the thing. It was over before it began. There was no way that amount of arterial blood was survivable. And again, we return to the tragedy of it all. The tragedy of it all is that a father will never see his children again, and his children will never see his smile again, and his wife will never feel the touch of him again. And this occurred because there are individuals in power who are intent on villainizing anyone that disagrees with them to the point of justifying murder. And yes, I've heard the theories. This was a master marksman. It was a sharpshooter. This was a sniper of snipers. Sometimes nefarious people just get lucky. Sometimes they aim for the chest and they hit the neck because they didn't account for windage or what have you. I know. I should probably put on a muumuu and start forensically analyzing it too. Sometimes bad things happen to decent people. And when that happens, we try to come up with explanations that are so fantastical as to stretch credulity to the point it snaps. Sometimes monsters get lucky. Sometimes they hit the mark beyond anything they could have expected, knowing their skill level. It's a sad day, kids. It's a sad day. Doubly so because, well, today is September 11th. And 24 years ago, I was on my way to the U.S. to do a speaking tour. I was 2.5 hours out of O'Hare when they turned our plane around and took us back to Zurich. And nobody told us what happened until we landed. And by that time, it was on every news outlet everywhere. I know we keep telling ourselves we're never going to forget. But it seems as though we've forgotten. We've forgotten that evil exists. We've forgotten that evil people do evil things. And perhaps we've gotten a little too comfortable. We've allowed for the rhetoric to become so commonplace that nobody even shrinks away when they hear someone calling another human being Hitler, worse than Hitler. We've become desensitized to being compared to monsters. And at some point, somebody takes the words individuals speak literally, and they decide and take upon themselves the task of, well, stopping Hitler in his tracks, stopping Goebbels in his tracks. Because without the propaganda, well, it would have been a lot harder for Hitler to do what he did. We live in a fallen world. And evil is ever present. But we also know that one day, and hopefully one day soon, Jesus, our Redeemer, will return to give to each man according to his works. I'm not a gatekeeper, and neither are you. Let God be God. He'll sort it out. And if Charlie Kirk is deserving of a reward, be sure that God's hand will not be short. He will receive it. And with that, I heard Gino's binging. Apparently, him muting himself is beyond his capacity. That's okay. Thank you guys for your prayers. My brother Daniel flew back to Romania yesterday. It seems as though my father is close to finishing his journey, so keep our family in your prayers. Keep him in your prayers. It hasn't been an easy summer, and it seems as though things are escalating here in the U.S. and all over the world. I know we didn't even get to Poland and NATO and shooting down Russian drones. So any hope of peace on that front? Good night, kids. Anyway, thank you for listening. We'll be with you again next week. Gino, if you got anything to say, it's yours.
Thank you, Mike. How bad we need God in our schools, our colleges, prayer, the Word of God. We've taken out the most important thing, fabric of a society that's essential in these schools that have become incubators of socialism, communism. How much we need God and the Word of God at the Ivy League colleges and our high schools. We need God in America. We need reformation. And there's a Bible verse, John 16:2. They'll put you out of the synagogues. The time will come that whoever killeth you will think he's doing God's service. We defend the faith at all costs. And God be with the Charlie Kirk family ministry. Let it go on. Be louder, stronger than ever before, all through the college halls of America. Thank you for listening to the Light of Truth radio broadcast.
Thank you for listening to today's broadcast, The Light of Truth with Michael Boldea. If you would like to order a copy of today's broadcast, please visit our website at handofhelp.com. If you have questions about our ministry, you can email us at handofhelpoffice@aol.com or simply call us at 920-206-9910. God bless you.